This is the heart of the city. That is what Arvada Mayor Mark Williams said to me this afternoon, and he could have been talking about both who this community lost and where this act of violence happened. Moments ago, there was a procession for the veteran Arvada police officer who was shot and killed this afternoon, responding to a call in Olde Town, just outside this city's library. A procession that stretched miles in length with first responders from up and down the Front Range coming here upon hearing that a member of the Arvada Police Department had been killed in the line of duty. First time that's happened in more than 40 years. This happened shortly after 1 o'clock in Olde Town, that bustling hub of Arvada and the Denver metro area. The spot so loved by so many people is a fun place to come and spend an afternoon. And even on a Monday, colder Monday than most, there were lots of folks out there having lunch when just after 1 o'clock there was a report of a suspicious incident in the Old Town Park outside the library. An officer responded, and within 15 minutes, shots were fired. Police officer was killed. That person's name is not being released at this point. Another person from the community, described only as a good Samaritan, was also shot and killed. And the shooter, the gunman, was shot and killed as well. 3 people dead in the middle of the day here in Olde Town Arvada, in an area where folks were in offices, in restaurants, in schools, the Bells of St. Anne's there. This is a busy part of the community on any day. Our Katie Eastman had a chance to talk with some of the folks attempting to process what they saw and heard today. Katie?
Yeah, Kyle, it wasn't until around 1:30 that anyone that was in those businesses working, one person getting a tattoo, drinking beer, having lunch, that they knew anything was wrong because they heard shots fired. And that's when they were told to shelter in place. They went to the back of wherever they were, wherever they could feel the most safe, and they waited. They waited, some of them for about an hour, until they were able to walk away from this block and go home and process what had just happened. One woman told me during those moments, she sent a text to her husband saying, "I love you and I love our daughters," because she wanted to make sure if those were her last words, that was what they would be. She was fine. She talked to us when she came out of the tattoo parlor that she had been in before. We talked to other people, employees at the Denver Beer Company, who saw a man shooting a gun. They saw him outside. My coworker Kelly, she spoke with another man that says that she saw the gunman shot by police. So many terrifying moments and traumatic moments, even for the people just waiting and wondering if they would be okay today. And now, hopefully, they are safe at home and starting to process what happened. I know throughout the day, a lot of people, we initially heard one officer down, and so they were coming up to us and asking, is that officer okay? And so we are so sad to have to break that heartbreaking news that no, that officer's not okay tonight.
Katie Eastman, thank you so much. And again, Arvada police are only identifying the officer as a veteran of their force, said that there were family members that still needed to be contacted before they felt comfortable sharing that name publicly. The name of the other community member who was shot and killed here today, the described Good Samaritan, also not being publicly identified. Arvada police saying they expected to release some more information tonight, but they're not going to come out and take questions from journalists at this point. That is not likely to happen until tomorrow. We are still gathering more information about what happened here today and the ripples that it sent through this community, and we'll continue to keep you updated over the course of this program. We have been seeing wildfires pop up on a near daily basis across Colorado. That is to be expected this time of year. And with the heat that we saw last week, heat that's returning to the forecast later this week. The work to fight some of these fires actually began months ago. In fact, first responders up in Eagle County tell our Mark Salinger that one of the fires they're fighting now is exactly what they anticipated.
You never ever want to see that kind of stuff in your backyard.
Yet we've gotten to a point where more and more people in Colorado are looking out from their homes and seeing wildfires.
This one, unfortunately, would be the third fire I can see from my house.
The Sylvan fire has grown to more than 1,400 acres since it started yesterday south of Eagle. The crews now battling the flames have spent the past year waiting for something like this.
It's accepting that this is something that will happen, not if, but when, and then identifying values at risk.
Eric Lovegren is the wildfire mitigation coordinator in Eagle County. After the worst fire season on record last year, fire departments in Eagle County came together to form the Eagle Valley Wildland Team, a coordinated effort to fight wildfires all year long, not just when they're burning.
We're trying to prevent unwanted ignitions from occurring and then allow for a better outcome when those wildfire events do impact this community.
It starts with firefighters from Gypsum, Eagle River, and Greater Eagle fire departments training together. They do prescribe burns and clean up dry land into slash piles, which they'll burn in winter.
We're preparing the battlefield well in advance of the firefighters arriving to engage the fire.
It also focuses on mitigation, working with homeowners to clear their land. Even when fires aren't burning, the firefighting continues.
We've also had a massive interest in preparing for wildfires now. So sometimes it really takes that close to home moment to get people willing to move.
Preparing for the next time you look out a window and see a view like this. And firefighters from those local agencies now train together, both in the classroom as well as doing other fire simulations. But Kyle, when you get a fire of this magnitude, this big, they get help from agencies from all across the country.
You know, Mark, firefighters are so quick to say there is no such thing as fire season in Colorado. It's 12 months out of the year. We obviously know that the activity picks up in the summer. Last year, Mark, when we saw the two largest fires in state history, they didn't burn until the fall. What are firefighters telling you about the fact that things are getting this chippy this early?
Yeah, well, we've had some very high temperatures, as everybody knows, and there's been a lot of dry heat, especially out in western Colorado. And now with these fires popping up, they expect this to last for all fire season long. This is starting right around when it usually does. Of course, last year, however, we saw those very large fires late into the season, into October, which is very late, Kyle.
Between law enforcement, as evidenced here in Arvada, and all those firefighters, a lot of people working through this summer just trying to keep Coloradans safe. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. The state program set up to try and prevent overdose deaths from prescription opioids is not having the intended effect. In fact, a new state audit has found that those deaths increased 76% in the first 11 years of this program. So this statewide prescription monitoring program was set up in 2008. The idea was to help providers make better decisions about what, if any, opioids to prescribe to particular patients. The state auditor's office says the database was meant to do that, but it's been less than effective because pharmacies are not regularly updating those records, and there was no follow-up on 85 providers who prescribed 26 more opioids than the average. Audit also found that more than 6,000 prescribers were not registered with the system, so they didn't even have access to that database. This is a state legislative audit that took a look at this and made a number of recommendations. It recommended that they change the program to require that prescribers go through the database, that they create a way to better identify patients who are abusing opioids and abusing the system, getting multiple prescriptions from multiple providers and pharmacies. And the state agency that administers that program has agreed to all of the findings of that audit. Taking a look at the state of vaccines in our state, right now 3.1 million Coloradans have gotten at least one dose of the COVID vaccine, but more than 2.8 million Coloradans are considered fully vaccinated. So to try and increase those numbers, the state is going to start calling our numbers, as in making actual phone calls one-on-one to Coloradans who are listed as not yet vaccinated. Colorado is trying to get to President Biden's goal of 70% of American adults having at least one shot by the 4th of July. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger was curious about the mechanics of cold calling people about their vaccines, even Coloradans who are on the no-call list.
The state's Do Not Call registry defines when a telephone solicitation is illegal. It's a call or text encouraging the purchase or rental of or investment in property, goods, or services. The state of Colorado is about to cold call hundreds of thousands of Coloradans who are not vaccinated.
We know that this vaccine is the key to ending this pandemic. We know that this vaccine will keep people from being hospitalized and people from dying. And so we are doing all that we can to reach out to Coloradans to make sure that they have all the information that they need to make the decision that is best for them.
This weekend, the state also started texting almost 500,000 people about getting vaccinated. Those same people will be getting a phone call, too. The phone numbers are coming from the Colorado Immunization Information System, the database that tracks your vaccinations. If you ever provided your phone number to your medical provider where you got vaccinated, it's likely in the database. How does this not fall under the no-call registry? I asked the Public Utilities Commission, which established the rules for how the no-call registry works in Colorado, and the Attorney General's office, which handles complaints and violations. I'm told encouraging a vaccine is not a purchase, rental, or investment in property, goods, or services. We also asked Scott Bookman, the state's COVID-19 incident commander, how we can be sure our vaccination information is not being sold or marketed beyond the, hey, get vaccinated, calls and texts.
We have statutory limitations on how we can use this information, and we're only using it to reach out to people to make sure that they understand where they can get this vaccine and to answer any questions that they might have. And so we really do want Coloradans to understand that their information is safe, it is secure, that it is the state reaching out to them to provide them with information.
The push for more vaccinations comes as the state reveals that Colorado is number 2 for the more contagious COVID variant. That's the Delta variant, first identified in India last year, and it was seen in Mesa County on the western slope last month. According to the state, just about every case of COVID now in Mesa County is that more contagious variant, and 2 out of every 5 cases statewide. Only Missouri, Kyle, has more mathematical cases of this Delta variant than Colorado.
You know, Marshall, on most days you're covering politics, and we often talk about ideas of polarization and ideology. But what we know about the vaccine is, while it may be tempting to say the people who haven't gotten the vaccine are never going to get it and everybody's just in their separate camps, the research suggests that there are people who are persuadable. They just haven't gotten the right information or talked to the right person or had the right convenience or an allowance from their employer. And you see it in the numbers. More and more Coloradans are getting vaccinated every day. It's not just that everybody who wanted it got it 2 months ago.
And clearly the state wouldn't be putting the effort behind having a call center taking a lot of inbound calls, now making outbound calls, if there wasn't some sort of proof that you call someone and it's not like they're just on the other end like, gee, I had never heard of this vaccine, thanks for calling me. They think that there's something beyond, hey, let me tell you some of the facts that you may not know, and that encourages some people.
The art of personal persuasion. Marshall, thank you very much. Wanted to offer a personal word of thanks to you for what you all did for the nonprofit Soccer Without Borders Colorado last week. Told you how much I love this idea. It's a nonprofit youth soccer program for newly arrived families, immigrants, and refugees. This nonprofit works up in the Greeley area as well as in the Denver metro area. And these kids come from all kinds of different countries, speak all kinds of different languages, but a lot of them know and love soccer. So it gives them something to do with each other, to make new friends, to feel more welcome here. And the nonprofit works in English language instruction right alongside the soccer instruction and serves as a conduit to connect their families with resources. And last week, you raised nearly $17,000 to help that small nonprofit expand its work in our community. And for that, I offer you my thanks. We obviously, again, know that there is hurt and there is need in this Arvada community this week and going forward. And I promise you, we'll have a thoughtful idea on how we together can make a positive impact this week. There was a hunt on recently for illegal ponds in Colorado. This ties directly into the extreme drought conditions we're seeing in our state. The idea of getting free water, no longer cool with the folks in charge. That's next. The hearse carrying the fallen Arvada police officer killed in a shooting this afternoon in Olde Town is just now arriving at the Jefferson County Coroner's Office in Golden. Here at the start of the procession in Arvada at Ralston and Old Wadsworth, crowds line the streets, and there are also folks there from the community who have gathered to pay their respects outside the coroner's office as the officer's body is brought there. Arvada police are not releasing the veteran officer's name, only describing years of service to this community. They said there are some members of that officer's family that still need to be notified. 2 people killed by a gunman in Olde Town Arvada today. That officer and someone police are only describing as a good Samaritan. The gunman was also shot and killed. An exploration of Colorado's illegal ponds is my recommended read for you this week, with so much of Colorado in a brutal drought. KUNC Radio went to the Arkansas River Basin, where the state has been using satellite imagery to hunt down ponds that are pulling water from the Arkansas without permission. It's increased enforcement of water rights, water law, now that Colorado has less of it to spare. KUNC reports that farmers are being told they need to come in line with the state's plan, get rid of their ponds, or pay up for that water. Now, there are some exceptions, but there's a ranch owner that told KUNC it felt like losing his lifeblood. Next continues from Arvada in just a moment. This week marks the end of an era for part of Colorado's craft beer scene. Falling Rock Tap House in Lodo, widely considered to be one of the best craft beer bars in America, is closing this coming Sunday.
We're all exhausted, and every restaurant person I know all across the country is just physically and emotionally exhausted right now.
Falling Rock's owner, Chris Black, says it's time. He's seen the neighborhood around Falling Rock change for better and for worse since 1997. He said, you know, they fought to stay afloat through the pandemic. They even sold off some of Falling Rock's well-known cellar collection. But Chris said business wasn't bouncing back from the pandemic as they had hoped. And rather than risk losing it all, as so many have, they're going to choose to step away at this point. Falling Rock has been synonymous over the years with the Great American Beer Festival. I mean, there's a clock on the wall that counted down the months, the days, the hours until the festival. Now, Falling Rock's time is numbered, and Chris is saying goodbye to longtime customers and colleagues.
The first thing that we needed to do was we needed to tell our employees. And we did that, and there were a lot of tears and a lot of hugs. So I'm really glad that we're allowed to do that right now.
So Falling Rock was closed today, it's going to be closed tomorrow, and then when they reopen on Wednesday, they're going to be clearing out the taps, selling as much beer as they can, as well as selling some of the famous old decorations on the walls, as well as bottles from that beer cellar. Their last day in business is going to be this coming Sunday. I popped in there yesterday to see Chris and some other folks, and I would just say a lot of us have met there over the years, and our community's been lucky to have a place like Falling Rock for so long, and we'll be very fortunate if we ever have a place like it again. A final thought from Arvada, a community in mourning, when next returns. We end where we began tonight, in the heart of Arvada, in Olde Town. That's what the mayor was saying to me today, that this place is just the center of this community. This place where today someone who was at the center of community and law enforcement, a veteran officer, was lost in a shootout with a gunman who was later killed himself. And then another member of this community, somebody they're saying was a good Samaritan, was also killed in this shooting that happened around 1 o'clock in a park outside the library in Olde Town. Just some kind of suspicious disturbance call that the officer was checking out ahead of the shooting. No names, no other details are being offered at this point. We may learn that as the evening goes on. You know, as I was coming in here today and coming south off the crest of Ralston, you see the water tower over Olde Town, the water tower that will be lit up tonight in memory of the fallen officer and the good Samaritan in the community. And normally whenever you look up and you see that water tower, you know you're headed to Olde Town and a wonderful, memorable time awaits in just one of the great places in the Denver metro area. And maybe that place can be where the community comes together to heal in the coming days, because this is where Arvada gathers. Thank you for spending some time with us. We'll be back with additional details on what happened in Arvada on 9 News at 9 and 10.